along with 60 of your Republican colleagues, signed a resolution last week that states, quote, former President Donald J. Trump did not engage in insurrection or rebellion against the United States. Can you talk to us a little bit about the timing of this resolution specifically? It came the same week as the Supreme Court heard oral arguments in Trump's challenge of Colorado's ruling that barred him from the ballot under the 14th Amendment.
Yeah, I can't, I wasn't the co-author of this resolution, so I can't tell you if there was any strategic timing to it. But I can tell you the arguments that I made. I'm happy to talk about those. Look, they're trying to destroy President Trump. Anybody with a set of eyes and a set of ears knows that. That's why they're trying to put him in jail for up to 750 years. That's why they're trying to destroy his businesses. That's why I think there's 4 simultaneous lawsuits happening all over the country to destroy Trump, keep him off the ballot. And obviously one of the most egregious charges against him is that he committed insurrection, which is complete nonsense. And it's also why he hasn't been charged for that. And like I said in the press conference, if they had any information or if they had any evidence whatsoever that he was guilty of insurrection or jaywalking, they would most certainly charge him for that. But they're happy to charge him with it in the court of public opinion. Also, this would be the first insurrection in the history of the world where the individuals that participated in it were unarmed. I'm in Longworth building right now. If I were to walk outside my building and walk over the Capitol, I would run into 15 armed officers. Okay, you don't try and commit an insurrection up here on the Hill. There's so many armed individuals, without bringing firearms. It's just foolish. It's stupid. It's so far beyond the pale. I don't think a lot of people realize, how much security there is up here on Capitol Hill. So, that's another thing right there. And then if you listen to the words of the president, I think this is why they won't try him for it, because his speech and his words would be repeated in that courtroom. It's hard to stoke an insurrection when the individual stoking the insurrection says, hey, I want you to go over there peacefully and patriotically. So have fun defending that one. But that's another reason why he's not guilty of insurrection.
Congressman, I do want to note that the DOJ did say 116 defendants were charged with entering restricted areas with dangerous or deadly weapons. And last week, Donald Trump characterized what happened on January 6th as an insurrection. He placed the blame on Nancy Pelosi, but he did say it was an insurrection. So how would you classify the events of January 6th?
I would say it was a protest that got way out of hand. And I'll be honest, there were some people that did some really stupid, foolish things on January 6th. I've actually been to the DC jail and talked to many of them who admitted that very thing to me. And I think that they should be held accountable. Do I think that they should have their day in court? Do I think that, justice should be blind? Absolutely. And I don't think most of them got fair trials here, just because of how politicized this was. And just because the DOJ says something doesn't mean I believe it. I know many of my colleagues don't believe it. I know a lot of the American people don't believe it either. And these deadly weapons that you're talking about, I'd love to know exactly what those were. But, something else I talked about, going back to the DOJ and their hypocrisy and even their cover-up going on up here on Capitol Hill right now. I'd love to know how they were able to put hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Americans that were allowed into the Capitol, in many cases, peacefully walk through the Capitol, even stayed between the ropes laid out, for tours in the Capitol, took selfies of themselves, and then were put in jail. But yet they can't find the pipe bomber. Do you find that interesting at all? The one individual that could have created multiple mass casualty events up here? Does that seem odd to you or anybody else out there? I sure find it very interesting.
Congressman, I know that you are a champion of law enforcement. So do you think... what about the 140 law enforcement officers who were assaulted that day? What do you think they would make of your characterization here?
Well, you know what? To talk to any of them, and let me address that right now, because I just addressed it like 2 minutes ago. I think I said that it was a protest that got way out of hand, and some people did some really stupid, foolish things. Did I not say that?
You did, sir. You did.
And assaulting, and we'd have to go case by case, through each individual, each one of these different assaults. But I think anytime you get into a situation where you end up assaulting a police officer, That's not a very wise decision. So I'm going to continue to stand behind law enforcement, but I'm not a big enough fool to not acknowledge that there's some very corrupt individuals in law enforcement, especially at leadership. It's one of the reasons I voted against a new headquarters for the FBI, and I was proud to take that vote. I don't like what the FBI has become over the years. Many of the rank and file members of the FBI are just great men and women like you or me that want to do a great job representing and serving the American people. But there's also been a bunch of shadiness, partisanship, and even corruption within the FBI. And if you don't realize that, maybe quit watching the corporate mainstream media propaganda and look for maybe an independent outlet where they're still allowed to tell the truth.
Sir, I know that you said that a lot of stupid things happened that day you don't agree with. Do you think Donald Trump bears any responsibility for any of those things that happened on January 6th?
I don't. No, I don't. I don't think that, assembling people up in our nation's capital, this capital belongs to the people of this country. I think they should be allowed to come here and protest at any time. I think they should be able to come here and have their voices here at any time. And not just the ones that I agree with, the ones that I don't agree with. I see protesters out here all the time, groups out here all the time that I don't agree with, and I'm glad they can come out here. So, if Donald Trump, encourages people to come to the Capitol and have their voices be heard and to, go march peacefully and patriotically, I have no problem with that whatsoever. And I'm actually glad, that he didn't curl up in a little ball like many of the people that are trying to oust him wanted him to. And I'm glad that a bunch of people showed up. And I don't condone the lawlessness that happened that day, but I also don't condone a lot of the things that went on from our federal government. I don't condone the fact that Nancy Pelosi could have taken Donald Trump and Kash Patel and up on their offer to give him National Guard resources either. That's interesting to me. That they didn't. And I think it's part of this cover-up that I'm talking about up here. I think many people wanted to see that get out of hand. I think, and it most certainly did. And I think they've been riding that wave for a very long time in an attempt to keep President Trump off the ballot.
Last question before I let you go. Once again, I do thank you for your time. What do you think is next for this resolution? Because as you know, some of the House members, who voted to impeach Donald Trump are still in the House. So do you think that this would pass? Do you think this will even be brought up for a vote?
I don't think it'll pass. But again, a lot of things that I do up here, a lot of things that I support, I'm just standing on principle. I'm not counting the numbers and, trying to figure out whether this is going to pass or not.